In a peaceful village called Umunze, there lived a poor but kind-hearted man named Obiozo. Obiozo lived alone in a small hut by the edge of the forest. Even though he didn't have much, Obiozo was known for helping others in the village. He would share his food, lend a hand to carrying heavy things, and always had a smile on his face. One bright morning, as Obiozo went to his farm to check on his yam crops, he noticed something strange. In the middle of his farmland was a large calabash, glowing golden under the sun. Obiozo was puzzled. Where did this calabash come from? He wondered. He bent down to pick it up. It felt warm in his hands, and as he lifted it, it seemed to hum with a soft magical sound. Without thinking too much, Obiozo decided to take the calabash. He didn't know why, but something inside of him told him it was special. As he walked back to his hut, he came across Nneka, the village gossip. She eyed the golden calabash in Obiozo's hand with wild eyes. "Obiozo, where did you get that?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "I found it on my farm," Obiozo replied. "Be careful, Obiozo. That calabash looks strange," Nneka warned, but Obiozo just smiled and continued on his way. Back home, Obiozo placed the golden calabash on a shelf in his small hut. That night, as he lay in bed, he heard a soft voice coming from the calabash. "Obiozo, Obiozo," the voice whispered. He sat up quickly, his heart racing. "Who is that?" he asked, looking around. "It's me, the golden calabash," the voice replied. "I am here to help you." Obiozo was shocked but also curious. "How can you help me?" he asked, his voice wide with surprise. The calabash hummed again, and suddenly food began to appear on Obiozo's table. There was a big pot of soup, fresh yam, and delicious fruits. Obiozo couldn't believe his eyes. "Eat, Obiozo. I'll provide for you," the calabash said. Obiozo, though still surprised, thanked the calabash and enjoyed the meal. For the first time in a long time, he had more than enough to eat. The next morning, the news of Obiozo's golden calabash spread throughout the village, thanks to Nneka, who had sent him with it. Soon, people began to visit Obiozo, asking for food or gifts. Obiozo, being kind, shared everything the calabash gave him. The more people came, the more the calabash provided. One day, the village chief, Igbostories, heard about the golden calabash. He was a proud man who loved riches and fine things. So, he sent his guards to bring Obiozo and his golden calabash to the palace. When Obiozo arrived at the palace, the chief smiled, but his eyes were fixed on the calabash. "Obiozo," Igbostories began, "I have heard of your magical calabash. How about to leave it with me for a few days? I will reward you handsomely." Obiozo hesitated. He didn't feel right giving the calabash to the chief, but the chief was a powerful man, and Obiozo didn't want him to make him angry. So, with a heavy heart, he handed over the golden calabash. That night, in the palace, the chief eagerly waited for the calabash to produce foods and riches, but no matter how long he waited, the calabash remained silent. "Calabash, give me food. Give me gold," the chief commanded, but the calabash did nothing. Frustrated, the chief called Obiozo the next morning. "This calabash is useless," he shouted. "It didn't give me anything." Obiozo puzzled, took the calabash back home. That night, as he slept, his calabash spoke to him again. "Obiozo, I only help those with pure hearts. The chief's heart is full of greed, so I stayed silent." Obiozo nodded in understanding. From that day on, he was careful about who he shared the calabash's gift with. He continued to help those who were kind and in need, but he kept the greedy people away. Time passed, and one day, a terrible drought hit the village of Umunze. The crops dried up, and the river stopped flowing. The villagers had little food, and many were hungry. Obiozo, feeling the pain of his people, decided to ask the golden calabash for help. "Golden calabash, can you help my village? The people are hungry and thirsty," Obiozo asked softly. The golden calabash hummed and said, "I will help, but you must first do something for me." "What is it?" Obiozo asked eagerly. "Go to the tallest palm tree at the edge of the village. There, you would find a small bird with golden feathers. Bring it to me, and I'll provide for the village." Without wasting time, Obiozo set out to find the bird. He climbed the tallest palm tree and, just as the calabash said, found the golden feathered bird perched on a branch. Carefully, Obiozo caught the bird and brought it back to his hut. When he placed the bird next to the golden calabash, something magical happened. The bird began to sing a sweet song, and as it did, rain started to fall from the sky. The villagers who had been so thirsty ran outside, laughing and dancing in the rain. Not only did the rain come, but the calabash also provided enough food for the entire village. Yam, fish, fruits and vegetables appeared, and everyone had more than enough to eat. The villagers were overjoyed. They praised Obiozo for his kindness and the magical calabash that has saved them. Even Nneka, the village gossip, danced in the rain, her laughter echoing through the village. However, the calabash had one last request for Obiozo. "Obiozo, you have a pure heart and you have helped many, but now I must leave." Obiozo was saddened. "Leave? But you have done so much for us," he said. The golden calabash hummed softly. "My time here is done, but you and your village will continue to prosper. The kindness you have shown will keep the blessings alive." With that, the golden calabash slowly began to disappear. Its glow faded into the air. Obiozo watched with tears in his eyes, but his heart was full of gratitude. From that day on, the village of Umunze flourished. The rains came when needed, the crops grew, and the people lived in peace and happiness. And whenever anyone asked how the village had become so blessed, the villagers would smile and say, "It all started with a kind man and a golden calabash."
African Tales by Sommy.